letting go and surrendering to the flow, which is something that spiritual people like to talk about, just going with the flow, yeah, can be a movement of the mind. Yeah? When the idea of letting go and going with the flow become an ideology, yeah? A fixed idea of what that means, what that looks like, how that feels, then it has become another commodity of the mind, of the egoic self. Yeah? It becomes a strategy that upholds a sense of me as someone who can go with the flow. And if I can go with the flow, then I must be spiritual, or I must be lucky, or I must be graced, or I must be this, or I must be that. And it has an agenda to it, that life will be easy, that I won't feel any pain, I won't feel any discomfort. If I go with the flow, then everything's okay, therefore I won't be hurt or touched by that. True surrender is not of that dimension. That dimension operates horizontally. Yeah? If I go with the flow, yeah, it's horizontal. I will get here. It still has a destination to it. My life will look like this, or I will be like this. I will have created an identity of myself like this, yeah, according to my idea of what going with the flow is. And then that just becomes, on the horizontal level, that becomes a scaffolding that upholds the sense of me as special. Yeah? As something. When I say special, it means something. I've created an identity out of myself as easygoing or spiritual or this or that or whatever, yeah? Surrender is not of that dimension. So surrender is vertical. It means all of that is demolished. All ideas of life being easy is demolished. All ideas of you as this or that are demolished. All agendas, all outcomes, all attempts, all strategies, all scaffolding. It's a death. It's total annihilation. Surrender is annihilation of self as a thing, of self as an entity, of self as something that exists here having the experience. Yeah? So in that, doing and not doing collapse. Yeah? The whole idea of doing and not doing collapses because it's not of the horizontal dimension. Yeah? As soon as you have something like doing and then you have not doing, you have a polarity. That's of the horizontal dimension. Yeah? In surrender, that question doesn't arise. Doing or not doing are irrelevant. Doing or not doing are one. Whether you do or don't do, it's one. Yeah? It's a different dimension of beingness. That's why you can do computer work and be not doing. Yeah? There's no polarity in it. There's no conflict in it. There's no opposition in it. Yeah? So yes, you can still be doing in the sense of egoic self manipulating its reality to conform to its wishes by letting go. Yeah? That's why surrender has no tool. That's why surrender doesn't really even have the words to describe it. Whatever I would say about surrender seems clumsy, seems ineffective, seems it falls short of the mark of describing the essence of surrender. Because it's not of the mind, it's not of the words, it's not of the description. It is something way beyond that really is of the beingness. It's a dropping into beingness that hasn't got anything to do with abiding in a place of just eternal peace. Yeah? It's a beingness that transcends all of that, or cuts through all of that. Yeah? And within that, everything can arise. Action, non-action, being, doing, stillness, movement, turbulence, all of that arises within that. Once that surrender has been fully opened to, fully fallen into. Yeah. So yes, it can be. Yeah. Yeah.
It seems to me that in order to get to that level, it's still, there is some work in terms of the awareness that we need to have, to practice, to have, or to know how to recognize.
Yes. Yes, that's where if there is a practice, if there is a tool, if there is I'm wary of calling it a tool, but yeah, let's use that term if it's useful, a tool, a practice, even an effort, yeah, a conscious effort, that's where it is. That's where it is. It's in the recognition of what is a horizontal dimension of experience and what is a vertical dimension of experience. It's in the recognition of where the resistance is, which keeps you in the horizontal, and where the non-resistance is, which allows you to fall into the vertical dimension, where then it doesn't matter what you're doing, and actually you have so much energy for that, not a physical energy, but an energy of beingness. Eventually the physical vehicle will be exhausted, so you will have to take care of that. So it's not about pushing past your physical limitations. All of it is taken care of. Yeah, you stop when you need to stop, you sleep when you need to sleep, you eat when you need to eat, you go for a walk when you need to go for a walk, but none of it is resisted. Yeah, you're on the computer when you need to be on the computer, and so on and so on, but something fuels you from within, because there's no resistance. If there is no resistance, then there is no impediment to the connection, the connectedness, the oneness with life as it's appearing, however mundane, however technical, however horrific, however agonizing it might seem. All of that dissolves in the oneness of it, in the non-resistance of it. Yeah? And then intelligence takes over. Innate intelligence, that's what you're fueled by. Innate intelligence takes over. Yeah? And that moves you from within. That's what feeds you and gives you the energy, yeah, like I was saying, not necessarily physical energy, although that's part of it, but the energy to the enthusiasm, the passion, the
inspiration.
Yeah, the vibrancy, the vital aliveness. You can be totally alive in the experience of working on your computer. Or you can be disconnected and resistant, and it doesn't become a very alive experience. It's rather draining and so on. Yeah, yeah. So to be vitally alive is to be totally at one with your experience, not lost in your experience, but at one with it. Yeah. So yes, there's some effort, conscious effort involved in seeing. That's where the discernment comes in. What is operating, if we're using that analogy, on a horizontal level, and what is operating from, we want to call it vertical, or we call it divine intelligence. Yeah? You're moved by God, or you're moved by ego. Yeah? Just as Jesus was crucified on the cross, the samsaric cross of suffering, where ego is crucified and resurrected in the vertical dimension of beingness, which is God. Yeah? So we too can consciously see where ego is pulling us this way and that way, which is where resistance is, or the doing of letting go, however it appears for you. It'll appear slightly differently for each experience, yeah, depending on what it is that you need to see. But you will see that there is an egoic movement backwards and forwards that is creating the resistance, or the whatever it might be, the impediment, yeah, what stands in the way of absolute awakeness and awareness. Yeah? And in that you can consciously, by seeing it, consciously, you can't do the surrender, but the seeing it itself allows the surrender, because there's a real letting go in that. The seeing it and the willingness to give it up, even though you don't know how to give it up, allows the falling into the abyss of being, which is what surrender is, and a resurrection out of that, which is where the light of beingness moves you. Vital aliveness moves you. Yeah? And everything becomes vitally alive in that. And there's an intelligence that guides you, that guides the pace and the rhythm and the doing and the non-doing and the resting and the movement, the stillness and the movement.